All that we've been reading about is fulfilled in the Roman Empire. That's what the book is about. It is written to the 7 churches of Asia Minor who were in the Roman Empire, who were suffering under the Roman Empire. And so the seals, the trumpets, the bowls is all building up to the fall of the Roman Empire. Now I'm going to show you how it was fulfilled in Roman history. But if you're expecting seal 1 is this, seal 2 is this, seal 3, you're going to be disappointed. It doesn't lay out like that, all right? There was no time when Rome got pounded by 100-pound hailstones. That never happened, right? It's not literal. But they had something similar that we're going to look at to that. And so it doesn't work out like the continual historical method of interpretation. You remember when we first started, I told you that there's people who believe that the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls are portions of history building up till now, and they believe that now we're living in the time of the 5th or the 6th bowl. I can't remember which one it is. And that's how they interpret the book of Revelation. That's easy to do because you're talking about 2,000 years. You're talking about a large period of time, and surely in there's a gap where it might fit one of those trumpets or one of those bowls. But the truth is, what Revelation is about, it's written in an apocalyptic way. It's just saying this powerful nation, Rome, because they have persecuted my people, they're going to fall. And so I'll show you how that happened. We'll start in 61 BC. Pompey was the one from Rome who conquered the Palestinian area. He carried many of the Jews away as POWs and made slaves out of them. Then there was Julius Caesar, and neither Pompey nor Julius Caesar ever claimed to be emperors. They were Caesars, and a Caesar, when Rome first started, was more like a president. There was a senate that they worked with. They weren't kings. They weren't emperors. But Augustus was the first emperor, and then Tiberius reigned after him, and then Caligula reigned after him. Caligula was murdered by his Praetorian Guard, and Claudius became the emperor after him. And then one more became emperor, and that was Nero. 5 have fallen. 5 have fallen. One is, the other is yet to come. So, the 5 who have fallen are Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. Why do we start with Augustus? Well, because he is the first one to become an emperor, or to claim to be an emperor. He kind of took the title himself. And so we start with him. Why don't we start with Caligula? Because he's the third one. 5 have fallen. That's what he says. So Claudius adopts Nero. Claudius is mysteriously poisoned in 54 AD. Nero becomes the emperor. In 59 AD, Nero murdered his own mother. In 64 AD, a mysterious fire starts that burns 2/3 of Rome. And in that time period, nobody knows who started it. Most people believe it was Nero himself who started the fire, but then he blamed the Christians for it. He said those Christians, they started the fire. And he started it so he could build his gold house. The gold house was the largest palace ever in history to be built for a monarch. It was huge. It had walls that were covered with jewels and gold. In the dining room, it had a rotating ceiling so that the view would change up on the ceiling all the time. Just a marvel. But that's why he did that, was so that he could have this. Nero committed suicide in 68 AD. And then we have the year of the 4 Caesars. Galba was the one who tried to take the throne. He didn't last. He lasted 9 months, and then Otho defeated him. Otho lasted for 91 days, and then Vitellius defeated Otho. And then Otho lasted for 7 months, and then Vespasian, who was actually down in Jerusalem, down in Palestine, or at least Caesarea, down in that area. He watched the other three duke it out, and when they had depleted their armies fighting against each other, he came in and took on the winner. So pretty smart, really. Vespasian reigned from 69 to 79 AD. 5 have fallen, one is. The one is Vespasian. So if we're understanding that passage in Revelation 17 correctly, then this book was written between 69 and 79 AD, during the reign of Vespasian. After Vespasian died, and he died, let's see, do I have that? Oh, I need to talk about this first. In 70 AD, Titus, Vespasian's son, squelched a rebellion, a Jewish rebellion. He went in, they were rebelling against Rome. He put that down. The Zealots and the Essenes and others were rebelling against. He squelched that rebellion. Titus and his army said, now, don't rebel anymore, and left the city, and the Jewish soldiers attacked him from behind. He turned and annihilated as many Jews as he could. I mean, they say the blood ran thick in the streets from all the people who were killed. He tore the temple down completely. He did horrible things at the temple. The abomination that causes desolation, which is also prophesied in the book of Daniel. Now, in the book of Daniel, that was talking about another ruler, Antiochus Epiphanes, who came in during the Maccabean rebellion. This is in between Malachi and Matthew. This is the intertestamental period. He came in. He also destroyed or killed a lot of the Jewish people, but he went into the temple and he sacrificed a pig on the altar, on the Jewish altar. You know what a pig is to Jews, like the most unclean, and the Jews never forgot that, ever. So when Jesus says, you remember the abomination that causes desolation? Oh yeah, we remember that. Let the reader understand. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. This is not talking about the final coming of Christ. What good would it do to flee to the mountains? That didn't do you any good. This is talking about when Titus came in with his armies and conquered Jerusalem. So that happened while Vespasian, his father, was on the throne. Titus is the one who did this. So Vespasian died of fever, and Titus became the emperor. Then shortly after, in 79 AD, when Titus became the emperor, on August 24th of that year, Mount Vesuvius exploded, erupted, and rained down ash and gas and lava on Pompeii. Did I say it right? Pompeii and Herculaneum, that other city. It rained down ash on both of those. And so it wasn't 100-pound hailstones, but something pretty horrible happened shortly after the prophecy of the book of Daniel. There was, after Titus died, and Titus died very mysteriously. Some think that his brother Domitian poisoned him, and then Domitian reigned. Domitian became the emperor right about the time the Mediterranean gold and silver mines depleted, and so they started making the coins, the silver coins that Rome was famous for, started making those out of cheap alloys. And the value of a denarius went from 20 cents down to a half a cent within a century. So it destroyed their economy. Remember the prophecy of Revelation chapter 18, verse 11. The merchants were weeping, mourning, because no one buys their cargoes anymore. It destroyed the whole economy, and Rome controlled all the sea trade. So when it collapsed, everything collapsed. And also in chapter 18, verse 2, talks about how a lot of things are going to become depressive in the city of Rome. No craftsmen with any crafts won't be found any longer. The sound of the mill won't be heard in you any longer. And so this was prophesied. Domitian was assassinated eventually. He was a horrible ruler, like most of them were. Pretty much all of these were terrible people. So Domitian is assassinated. Nerva becomes the next emperor in 96 AD. And then in 98 AD, January of 98 AD, Nerva died. Trajan became the next emperor. And from 101 to 107, Trajan conquered Dacia in Central Europe, west of the Black Sea, which expanded the borders of Rome. So after it was prophesied, after God told, or Jesus told the Christians, Rome's going to fall, they grew. But actually that was not a good thing for Rome, because they grew beyond their ability to protect their borders. And so this is going to come back to bite them. Oh, forgot that one too. Chapter 18, verse 8 talks about, for this reason, on the days there's going to be plagues, there's going to be pestilence, there's going to be famine. The Roman Empire reached its greatest size in 116 AD. Trajan died. Hadrian became the emperor. Hadrian dies. Antonius Pius becomes the emperor in 138 AD. Antonius dies. Marcus Aurelius becomes the emperor in 161 AD. And then from 161 to 166, the Roman soldiers drive out the invading Parthians. But when they drove them back into their country, when they came back, they brought back a deadly contagion, killing millions of Romans. Rome actually shrunk in size underneath 1 million in population. It was over 1 million that whole time. It never recovered until the 20th century. So, then in 167 AD, the next year, the German tribes invaded the north. Rome's borders were too large to defend, and so they couldn't defend the borders. So as these marauding neighbors were coming in, they were the farmers were unprotected. So small farms lost business, which caused a famine. There was mourning and there was famine, so there was a great famine. Then, let's see what happens next here. Okay, in 180, Marcus Aurelius died. His 19-year-old son, Commodus, became the emperor. He was described as vain, selfish, spoiled, and lazy. He was a sexual pervert, and everybody hated him. He would gather the crippled in Rome and those who were defenseless and would club them to death, kill them to death, just for sport, just for fun. That's the kind of guy this was. The Roman soldiers were poor, uneducated, and disloyal from neglect at that time. Commodus hired 13,000 barbarian soldiers and paid them instead of paying his own soldiers. That was a dumb mistake. It caused disloyalty of his own generals. He was assassinated by 192 AD. In 193, the soldier assassins appointed Pertinax as emperor. He raised the taxes, and the same assassins that killed Commodus killed him, and 3 months later. In 193, the Praetorian Guards didn't think ahead, well, who's going to be the emperor? So they put the emperorship up for the highest bid. Whoever pays us the most gets to be the emperor. Julianus won the bid. You can imagine how well that went with the citizens of Rome. They were disgusted. There was civil war. In June of that same year, 193, Julianus was executed. He was in office for 66 days. Septimus Severus won a 4-year civil war. He increased the pay and the size of his army, but he had to heavily tax the citizens who were already overburdened to do that. As you can see by now, Rome is in a lot of trouble. In 211, Severus, replaced by his cruel son Caracalla. Emperor Caracalla granted citizenship to all the slaves, set them all free. That sounds wonderful, doesn't it? He did that so he could tax them. In 217, Caracalla was murdered by one of his officers, and Rome was divided. There was the Gallic, the new territory of the Gallics, off to the north and the west. The red is the portion that Rome kept, and then in the south is the Palmarinas. So the city was split into 3 sections, wasn't it? So just as, I think I had this scripture up here. Yeah, Revelation 16, verse 19, just as it prophesied. The Neo-Persians invaded from across the Euphrates. Chapter 16, verse 12, talks about the Euphrates and the Battle of Armageddon. Germans invaded Gaul and Spain. The Goths overran Dacia. Over 50 rulers claimed that they were the emperor of Rome during this time, during the Civil War. Rome divided into the 3 sections, and then something really terrible happened. The Southwest Anatolia earthquake of 262 AD. Now, they didn't have seismographs back then, so we don't know how large this was. And the writers of that time, the historians, the way they described it, modern people don't believe that because they think it was so exaggerated. But it was horrible. It destroyed many of the coastal cities. It almost completely destroyed Ephesus. Here is a picture of what is left of the library, which was burned by fire the same year. The coastal cities were destroyed by the tsunami that was caused by this earthquake. And epidemics also claimed many of the lives, as 18 verse 8 predicted. Rome was no longer the dominant world force that it once had been. So, as you can see, it doesn't follow the trumpets and the bowls, but it doesn't have to. God said it's going to fall. Rome is going to crumble, and that's exactly what happened. All right. Any historians in here want to correct me on anything that I said? I'm glad several of you said, I have no idea what Roman history. Yeah. Yes, yes. Christianity did Christianity continue to thrive is the question. Yes, it continued to thrive during this time of heavy persecution. And I took you all the way up to 282 AD. We know what happened in the early 300s with Constantine. Constantine legalized Christianity. And actually, Constantine did a lot of good for Christianity as far as taking the pressure off. But by then, Rome was not anywhere close to the dominant world power that it had once been. Okay, good question. Any others? Hello, I'm Curtis Hartshorn, and the message you just watched was filmed right here at the Lake Road Church of Christ. Glad that you watched the message, and that's very beneficial. But you know what would be even more beneficial? Is if you were right here in one of these chairs this next Sunday. Our service times are right there on the screen, and our address. We're on the north end of Gore, Oklahoma, and we would love to have you. You also, if you want, there's a way to donate. There's a QR code there on the screen that you can scan that takes you to a link where you can donate, or you can just send money to our address. We're not soliciting funds, but we're a small congregation, and every little bit helps. More importantly, it'd be great if you would come to join us. We would really like to get to know you. God bless you.